I wanted to record a video about designing guns for games that are set in a more grounded reality, not fantastical ones like Destiny or Borderlands or things like that. Um, but creating fictional guns that are based in the same sort of ideas as real guns. So in my mind, when I look at fictional guns, in 3D or concept art, or when I'm making them myself, there's kind of a tiered system that I think about. Up at the top is mechanics, and below that is ergonomics, and then beneath that is aesthetics. Guns are a way of projecting force at a distance. So they are machines and therefore need to work mechanically. But they are something that humans use, so therefore they need to be ergonomic and also aesthetic. Because if you can't hold on to something while you're using it, it's not much good. And in general, people like pretty things. So let's go over those. First up is mechanics. Now, I have some visual aids that I'm getting from Daniel Solovev on ArtStation. Definitely check them out. He has some good explanations that kind of break down the intricacies of guns into more easily learnable pieces. Because you don't need to know all the details about guns to make things that are grounded in reality and believable. Also, the originals are in color. I only have a black and white printer, so bear with me. The important parts he points out are that every gun pretty much has a barrel, a bolt behind it, a buffer behind that, and then a magazine. He goes on to give examples of a bunch of different rifles that all look very different, but all share those fundamentals. And also things like shotguns or pistols that are set up differently but still have those elements. So for a magazine from a shotgun, it's not coming from the bottom, but is located in a tube beneath the barrel. But it still has a bolt and a buffer. Pistols are a little different, and I actually use my visual aids here to show. Okay. So, the thing to keep in mind is, guns have barrels where the bullets come out, and then they have a bolt. A bolt is a reciprocating mass that loads the gun. It takes the cartridges out of the magazine and inserts them into the barrel, essentially. So on a pistol, that is the slide. Bolts are driven rearward by the ignition of the powder inside the cartridges, and they're driven forward by the springs. And that's, with rifles, pistols. Exceptions like revolvers work a little differently. Also, these are airsoft replicas, non-firing, unloaded, safe. Okay, so why are these things important? Well, I've seen a lot of errors when it comes to concept art or models where things that would just render it non-mechanical. And this is also an important thing because when it comes to animation, these things also come up. I've seen things where like you get overhangs in the slide, or there's not a clear division, or like you get some weird, I don't know, funky lines instead of just like a straight division between frame and slide. And that's important because these are two pieces that slide against each other and reciprocate. So if you want a gun that animates in this way, you can't have those pieces intersecting each other. The way that looks in a rifle is you have your magazine, your bolt. So the bolt is visible inside the ejection port of most rifles, and it reciprocates backwards when you shoot, and a spring pushes it forward. I'll have to release it. There. Okay, so in a rifle, what do you need to keep in mind? Well, one thing I didn't point out in a pistol, I'll go back to it. I'll just talk about the rifle now for now. Okay, so you need space behind bolts for it to reciprocate and to house a spring to drive it forward. Now, depending on your rifle, that spring might be located in different areas. It could be located above the bolt. It could be elongated and you have like a buffer tube that goes back into the stock like on an AR-15. But most of the time it's in this area, and that's why you have space back here. Let me take out the magazine. So when you're designing something, keep in mind that there's a barrel that goes out the front. Directly behind it is a bolt. An ejection port sits to the side of it, so shells can be ejected outward. And then behind the bolt is a buffer space where it can reciprocate. A lot of times you see concepts where this is shortened or eliminated entirely, especially in like bullpups. Bullpups are where the magazine is behind the handle. And a lot of times you just see like the handle and then a magazine that's right behind it, and then like that's the end of the gun. And there's just no space for a bolt that's above the magazine to go back and forth. So, a way to easily remember this is I think of it as a T, a weird looking T, where the magazine is the vertical part of the T, very short in general, and then you have a long top of the T, that's the barrel, the bolt, and a space behind it. And if you keep those just fundamentals in your mind when you're designing things, you'll make something that's more grounded and believable. So back to the pistol. Pistols work a little differently. The spring is generally located beneath the barrel along a guide rod. So you see the guide rod there. There's actually a spring that goes around it that is held in place by the frame. And you don't have the spring behind the bolt being the slide, but you do have space behind it where nothing should go because it reciprocates. So that's the basic mechanics of most guns. It kind of leads us to ergonomics. The first place I look when I'm looking at someone else's gun work after my mind sees mechanics is this area right here. Because this will tell the story of if you're paying attention to ergonomics. A lot of times you see this angle of the grip terminate into a very sharp angle where there's sharp little bits here in people's concepts, which is bad because that's where the web of your hand goes. Another common error is there's like, it's on a rifle and there's like a magazine back here or something, and it's like you can't hold the grip because the magazine is in the way. There's just like yeah, okay. If there's a magazine here and I'm trying to hold it with this hand, there's just not enough space. So like think about where hands should be. The arms are generally right behind the hand, so you can't have a magazine here because your arm goes there. Okay, so back to this spot right here. The web of your hand fits right there. And so almost every gun has this little curve here that goes from the grip to a horizontal area. By the way, this is a safety that gets pushed in. So this isn't actually like a sharp edge that sticks into your hand because it goes into the gun when you grip it. We actually see this same curve on rifles. You also notice that all the Areas where your hand goes, either back here or up here, are very rounded and also have grippy areas, either stippling or ridges where you can get a grip. You even see that on things like the charging handle, where it's rounded so it's not sharp, but you still have little grippy areas. You also know those grips in things like slide cuts, slide serrations, where you can use them to get a grip on the slide, to grab them either there or in the front. You'll notice these ergonomics on things that aren't guns, like with controllers, where your hands are placed in areas that are very soft and round. So you can always reference things that aren't guns. But yeah, like drills, power tools, things that you don't have sharp corners or edges where your hands should go. This gets magnified by the fact when you think about that guns have lots of recoil, so they're pushing back on you, so you have to hold them very tightly, and then you're getting a lot of energy back into your hand. You really don't want that stuff digging into you. Yeah, so after mechanics and ergonomics and aesthetics, that's really all up to you and your tastes. There's lots of different real guns to pull inspiration from, and then lots of other things to pull just cool ideas from. And that's all taste and not really a part of this video. But it is just important to keep in mind that it is like a lower tier, right? There's lots of things about guns that look aesthetic and can be different from gun to gun, but they have mechanical or ergonomic reasons for being there, like slide cuts that lighten the weight of a slide, or serrations to get a grip on, like flared magazine wells that help you insert the magazine easier, a flat face trigger. Some people prefer curved triggers or flat face triggers for ergonomic reasons. So yeah, hopefully this is helpful. Things to keep in mind for designing things in more realistic settings.